Hey, hello, you beautiful people. Welcome back. It has been about 3 weeks since we talked about AVAX in the previous update, and unfortunately, what we talked about didn't necessarily play out. But on the other hand, if you watched the previous video, you know that we did actually expect a bit of a move down, and we said if this move is going to have certain characteristics, fair enough, it's going to be a long opportunity for us. Now, here's the deal. Fundamental wise, like we talked about also on Twitter a couple of days ago, this is basically one of those very rare few times that we are just getting constantly bombarded by good news. However, on the other hand, the prices are just getting hammered and hammered and hammered every single day. And to me, as a bit of a fair value investor, and also if you are a long-term investor, you should know that these are actually the times to make a very good amount of money in the mid to long term. So if you are like me, a long-term investor, any kind of dip in projects that have great fundamentals, for that matter, I'm not even talking about AVAX. Generally, do your due diligence, come up with your own conclusion. Don't even listen to me. Come up with your own conclusion, and then if you think, for example, Project X has great fundamentals, then okay, these prices are absolute discounts for you, and you should also have at any given moment some dry powder aside in case in the next coming weeks and months we're gonna have some more dips, and you really want to take advantage of those buying opportunities in order to get your average purchase as low as possible. Now, with all that aside, why did we say in Avalanche we are going to have one way or the other a bit of a move on the downside? So, because if you want to argue that Elliott Wave wise we're going to have our final low around here, then okay, you have to be able to find off of the lows a rather strong bounce back in form of, you know it, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and even according to the most bullish case, after completing a 5 wave, what are we going to have? You probably know what I'm about to say, right? We are going to have one way or the other a bit of a pullback down, and this, my friends, is usually a rather deep pullback, and that's why I said, yeah, you know what, let's just be a bit more patient and watch this pullback and then pay full attention to the shape of it. Okay, that in my view is the thing that actually matters quite a bit, because if we get a rather strong move down in form of a 5 wave without a lot of overlapping of the waves, that's not good news. On the other hand, if we end up getting a very slow and choppy move on the downside, which timing wise is going to take more time relative to this 5 wave up in here, that's going to be an awesome sign suggesting hopefully on a higher degree we are having 5 up into 1 correction for wave 2, and then we can expect a beautiful strong move up into wave 3, 4, 5, indicating generally we have hit our final low in Avalanche. Now, having said all this, let's go on 15-minute time frame, zoom out a little bit more. There we go, and check out the subwaves in here. Question number 1. Do we have actually a relatively slow move on the downside, or maybe this is actually quite a strong move? As you can see, between our pullbacks down, we don't necessarily have a whole lot of overlapping of the waves, do we? Also, timing wise, if I just go on, maybe let's go even on H1 time frame so we can measure the candles a little bit better. Let's just measure this move down from here to about this point. As you can see, this is taking us to about the lows, about 270 candlesticks. On the other hand, in about, let's say 270 candlesticks as well, we just got this small phase on the upside. So you could have definitely argued when we were somewhere around here in AVAX, we need to be at least bare minimum a little bit more patient, because this doesn't seem to be a correction structure on the downside. And if you would have been patient, you would have realized, yeah, you know what, this is actually an impulse, and our move down did continue, unfortunately, and in it we end up taking the lows in here. Now, the question is, can we argue right now is actually a buying opportunity? Well, it actually depends. Are you a trader, a short-term trader, or maybe you are a mid to long-term investor? If you are an investor, again, since this is a pretty, in my view, at least great deal, okay, you can definitely see this as a buy the dip opportunity. On the other hand, if you are a trader and you want to open a long position in here, may I suggest just be a little bit more patient and careful. Why is that? I got two reasons for it. Number one, let's just zoom in more and count some waves. I think we can all agree at this point, this is actually a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave down, followed by a correction on the upside. This can be yet another 1, 2, 3. Probably I'm gonna say the end of our wave 4 can be in here, and then another move down into wave 5. And guess what? I do not believe actually that this is a 5 wave down. No, in my view, we probably have starting from this point, or maybe here, it doesn't really matter, an A, B, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up into our C leg. And right now we are actually on our way to complete the sub waves for yet another move on the downside. And maybe this is going to be like a 1, 2, and then we're going to have another move down into wave 3, 4, 5 in order to even on a higher degree complete the sub waves for, you know what I'm about to say, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave down. So as you can see, Elliott Wave wise, at least in AVAX, it seems like our move down can actually continue a little bit more. Now, here's a very important point. When it comes to classic technical analysis, and by that I mean support and resistances, it's very important to note we do actually have in here a very strong area of support from, I believe the last time I checked, this was from weekly and daily time frame at the same time. Now, having said that, you should know that there is actually a chance that in the short term, for example, in the next couple of days, we may very well go under this important level, but then this is going to be accompanied by a very strong bounce back. And at that point, if you go and check out the weekly chart, maybe this whole move is just going to be a shadow. And at that point, this isn't necessarily going to be a break of the support. Why is that? Because if you want to say this is broken, you need to go, like we said earlier, on weekly time frame and see an initial candle closing here, followed by a pullback, and then a continuation of the move down. Okay, just a quick move down in order to go under here doesn't necessarily mean that we have broken this level. And I think this might actually be the play in AVAX in like very short term. Now, the second important point, do I have actually a reason to believe this is probably the most likely outcome? I would argue yes, because in Bitcoin, the structures are actually a little bit more clear than Avalanche. And unfortunately in BTC, a lot of signs do indicate that, yep, our move down is going to continue a little bit more. Maybe, I don't know, for another 5, 6, even 10% maximum. And then we are going to have a bounce. So let me ask you this. If we think that BTC is going to go down, does it make sense to argue AVAX in here is going to hit its final low, and from here we are going to witness a very strong bounce back? I would argue maybe there is a possibility something like this could potentially happen. However, odds of it happening is so low to a degree that is going to make you say, yeah, you know what, it's not really worth trading. So if you want to open some trades in here, I would like to suggest look for some tactical short positions and see, for example, are we going to have a very slow and choppy bounce back? In that case, for instance, in here, you can open a short. Your stop can be above this high and your target can be somewhere around the lower band of this region, maybe even a little bit lower. Generally, I would like to suggest just stay away from trading, because in Avalanche, I think we are so close to our final low to a degree that if you open any kind of short position in here, odds are in the next coming bounce back, which in my view is going to happen in a relatively violent way, you are going to get your stop loss hit and lose a decent bit of money. I would like to say, just be a bit more patient. And also number 2, expect another move down in Avalanche. But then point number 3, expect a very strong bounce back. But before we get to this phase, we unfortunately have to go through this phase again. So you know what, maybe expect I don't know, maybe something like a 15% move on the downside maximum. So if it doesn't happen, great, we're going to be happy. If it happens, we're not going to be surprised at all. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in Avalanche's chart. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.